Well, hello, and welcome back. I got something a little different for you, but a little bit the same. Gonna kind of be combining the art videos and the reviews, because today I'm reviewing something that, well, I wrote. It is Pandy in the Great Martian Escape. Let me just zoom in there. It looks like it's widening out a bit in the video. Yeah, Pandy in the Great Martian Escape. So what's the story behind this? Well, I talked about this bit on the channel before. Someone wanted me to help them make a kid's book. Person never published. I haven't had contact with them for about a year now. I want to see returns on my investments. So what do I own in here and what don't I own? The main character, Pandy, that's pretty much the only thing that came from the source. And not even the design. She told me I want my dog to be the main character. I helped her reserve the rights for that. So I technically don't own Pandy. I can't publish it. The only way I could really do anything to get anything back at this point is to review it. Get a little ad revenue. And maybe find someone else who wants to commission me for something else in the future. But I assure you, all the storyboarding, all the art, all the designs are all me. The only extent is I would pretty much say, she would say, I want this character to go to Mars. That's all she had. And I would be like, well, I have this idea for a book laid out. I would present the story to her. She'd approve what she'd like. If she didn't like something, I came up with other things that they swapped around. If I had like multiple design ideas, like I think this character could look like this, or this, I would send them the 3 designs, let them pick. The only thing really the other people did was spell check. They're supposed to spell check and publish. So if you see some spelling errors, not my fault. I've admitted before I'm bad at grammar. I'm bad at spelling. I submitted the scripts. They corrected them. I just drew it in there. I had sequels planned out for this, but I don't own the character, so it looks like they're never going to get made. I have some of the artwork done for that. And if this video does well, I'll make sure to share those in another video. This, of course, is a kid's story. So my language will be very clean. I won't be saying anything profane or bad during this video, but I will not be releasing it as a YouTube kids video because I need the comments and engagement. Now this might turn out to be pretty long because I'm not gonna lie, it was like a year's worth of drawing. So let's just get to it and you can see what's in there. Starting off, this one is in an obvious book format, so bear with me as I'm gonna have to flip through these pages. I'll probably be cutting a lot, and if you see it, that's why. Secondly, you might notice the margins are weird. That's because I had to slice part of the margins off to get these to scan when I uploaded them digitally for the person to make the book, which they never did. Yes, I have a photo scanner, and I Xeroxed and uploaded and formatted all these. So, one thing you can tell here, I got really tired during this painting skies, painting the ground. This is part of why I went to painting water for a while. You have a very classic, hero stance. She's putting her flag in the rock. So in this world, in this universe, the Earth is controlled by dogs and cats and different animals. Kind of like a, Planet of the Apes, how, there's a virus that infected the dogs, so they started replacing them with monkeys. So my idea for the universe in this world, even though it's nowhere in here, was that that was happening, and then all the animals were they tested the monkey make smarter stuff on them, and they're like, well, they're gonna replace us, so they're like, we don't care if the humans go missing, so they just took over. So Pandy in the Great Martian Escape, and you have her, it opens up with her in her starship. I want to talk about the space. This is one of my favorite drawings I've done of space. You kind of see this again in the painting I did, The Gift, with Meowth. And you may notice her helmet. I always try to keep the background a little fuzzier to give that atmosphere effect. So she's currently talking to Spot, which is like her AI, which he inhabits most of the time a handheld device, but can be plugged into different machinery as well. So Spot is telling her, system test. I imagined him British when I made this, by the way. So, system test complete. Everything seems to be in top shape, ma'am. We will be ready to land within the hour. And she's sitting here screwing on something. You'll see what that is later. And she says, "Thank you, Spot. I'll finish prepping the scientific equipment and load the rover. Then we can proceed with the mission." So here we are. She's been traveling through space and she's entering the atmosphere. As you can tell, I went with very classic designs for the spacesuit, the rocket. I really love that 50s sci-fi and I wanted this to reflect that. I had very little direction and I wanted the art in here to reflect what I enjoyed. You can see the thick, fiery marks on the rocket glaring on the clouds because of the burnup when they are entering the atmosphere. And it says right here, "Looks like it's going to be a bumpy ride, miss. Contrary to our theories, Mars seems to have a thick atmosphere, not unlike Earth's. Its atmospheric pressure is over 100,000 pascals, not the 610 pascals of our previous calculations." And if I remember right, I actually looked up what we think the pressure on Mars is, and I made it closer to Earth's, but still less. You also get a zoom in of Spot right here. That's what he looks like. He's just a little plug-in phone, and I tried to make him look as vaguely like a dog as possible. It's kind of funny with this one saying, "I did this," instead of "I wonder what they did," or talking about the techniques. Like the lines I put here to create curve. Oh, you may also notice, you can see this in like the Sonic comments I've done. I give everyone their own color for their speech bubble. And I've noticed people like first off, I imagined this in comic format when I wrote it. And again, no direction. And I noticed people like my mom, they have a lot of trouble knowing natural progression through comic panels. When there's different bubbles, knowing the orders to read the bubbles in. And I wanted to make sure that people who weren't familiar with comics would have an easier time reading it. In the past, I've had people ask me to put arrows between the panels so they know which order to read them in. And I'm like, dude, if you read English, you should be able to know. But, you know, not everyone has that skill, so I tried being a bit more gentle when designing a kid's book. Especially considering it was supposed to be like this, you know, side by side. So then you can see her rocket coming in here, and there's this lovely family. You know, they're outside having a picnic in their neighborhood. You see the houses and the pedestals they're on right here. So they're all on these like floated up cities. And I try to make the houses look like cat houses, like cat trees and whatnot. You may notice here in the yard they have catnip growing. They're having some fish salad and they're cooking space dogs, which are green because it's space. And yes, there's a lot of jokes in here where it's like, yeah, that's like that because it's space. You may even notice the kids are dressed a bit retro. I just drew what I liked. You may also notice that the plants have a deeper purplish hue. The reason I did that is there's a lot of plants here on Earth that when in colder or lower light conditions, they lose their normal green and they become a deeper purple or even black color, kind of like sakura trees. And I really thought it would be cool to make the plants on Mars reflect that, because I figured they would need something to help them attract more light. Oh, you may also notice the boy here, he's reading a comic with a pig-like monster on it that looks suspiciously like the hero of our story. Oh, and the dad's apron kissed the cat. There's a lot of humor in here, and it's going to come down to, why are they doing that? Because they are this animal? Or like, why? Like, why is that way? Because they're in space. Like the space dog. You may notice these have a bit of a shadow too. Yeah, so I forgot to put the words in this one. So with that, I went and I made the word bubbles later. And I cut them out and I put them over it. So when I scanned it, it looked whole. You will also see this when I correct things a bit in the future. So you see, this is one of my favorite ones, by the way, because of the line work. So the rocket's coming in. You know, you have the lines coming in. It's glaring. The dad's staring at it. Wow, what is that? Some kind of comet? No way, that thing is coming down. Looks like it's headed for the Litterlands. Let's go check it out. And then the old mom comes out, being a mom. You know what? It's like Chi-Chi. You know, like we think of her as a nag, but she really just wanted what was best for her kid. Much like this mom who comes out, oh no, you're not. No kids of mine are going to run off, chasing some dirty space debris. It's too dangerous. Besides, your space dogs will get cold. We better call the Psy-Cats. It's their job to deal with this stuff. Our tax dollars pay their salaries. It's the least they can do. So the Psy-Cats are like the government is controlled by one central empress figure, and the Psy-Cats are like her gendarmes, her secret police, which are, like, you have two classes of citizens on this planet. You have the non-psychic citizens who live in the houses, who maintain society, and then you have the psychics who are controlling everything and have all the power. Also, space juice. So the next scene, the mom, you can see her silhouette. She's on the phone talking, and the kids are creeping out under the window. The little one here, he's still got his space dog. He's not missing dinner for this adventure. Classic kids sneaking out. Oh, here's one of the ones you can see. I made a mistake. I had to post that in there. Yep, this is what she's working on earlier. It's like these vacuum tubes. And what she's doing is she's taking samples of Martian life to study what's on the planet. You have her fighting this bug here. I thought it was pretty cool because normally you get the giant bug, but it's like situations flipped. And Spot, he is now in the rover piloting it, so he's saying from there, "This soil is surprisingly fertile. Despite the high salt and the sulfate levels, these finds are amazing. To think, we came to search for signs of life, but to think we would find a plant and even animal life? Looks like you were right, ma'am. It was a good idea to bring the jars." I don't like the redundancy of how I wrote that there with the thinking. So the next panel, you see our kids here have crept up on her, and they're watching her from afar. She has all her little samples there. And they're just like, oh, look. You might notice also I draw Mars moons as much as possible. Oh, and I hid right here some pyramids in the face on Mars. I forgot about that. So then you have the kids here. You can see the city behind them. The main tower that it all centers around. And they're all looking at her. Oh, so the little one, my favorite boy, the cute fat one, he's like, "Do you see those big robot things?" And then his brother's like, "Never mind that. Look at that alien. Barforama, am I right?" And then his sister interjects, "That's not nice, Calvin. We don't know anything about it. Maybe it needs help." "I'm not going down there. That's for sure. Just look at those jaws. That thing would gobble me up. Teddy, you should go." And it starts, the little ledger starts cracking. It's and he's like, guys, because he's the only one noticing. And then boom, you get this beautiful panel. You have all their falling reactions. And this time the cats do not land on their feet. You got a bam and a clack clack as the stones fall. And you know, Pandy, she's giving a Star Trek Captain-esque pose. You might notice there's some movement in the background there. So Pandy, she's signaling to Spot to hold back, and she's like, "Look, Spot, I think they are intelligent. I'm going to try to make contact." So yeah, Pandy is 100% on a scientific expedition, funded by her government. So here she is trying to talk to them. And of course, they don't speak the same language. So all they hear is, "Bork, bork, woof, bow, wow." And, you know, she's waving around. She looks excited, but they don't get that. They're scared. She's trying to protect Teddy. You know, Calvin's like trying to defend them. He's like, he's got his tail all up. Cultural misunderstanding. And then the police show up in their flying saucers. They got red, blue, and white spinning lights. And they're like, "Wee, wee." Calvin's like, "Whoa, look, Mom called the Psy-Cats." I guess that's who she was on the phone with, right? And even though he's excited, his sister seems very worried. And their little brother seems excited. You can see she's trying to cover his face, and he's pulling her hands away so he can look. And Pandy's just like, "The what?" You know, I realized they did a hole in my writing here. They didn't understand each other, but here she is, the next panel, reacting to what he says. That's funny. So here you have the Psy-Cats getting out, and this is what they do, is they kind of like, I tried to put all the stages of them powering up. They kind of like get a key type aura around them, and they start levitating, and they have a third eye hidden on their forehead that they only use when they're using their psychic ability. And he's like, there is a foreign contagion in Sector 5. We need this one alive. Keep your fire on stun. And you can see there's already 2 police there. The third one's showing up. And freaking Spot, he whips it around. He's like, vroom! Hop in, ma'am. It's time for a tactical retreat. And they're shooting there. It goes, pew, vroom, zaboom, boom. Yeah, so they can shoot lasers out of their foreheads. And part of the reason why I had this is I didn't want there to be any firearms or any firearm-like weapons, because, you know, a lot of people will not get things for their kid if it has anything like a gun in it at all. But Pandy, she pulls some Keanu Reeves, she swooshes in there, she makes sure to fasten her seatbelt, she puts the pedal to the metal, and she's taking off like Smokey and the Bandit, woo, out of there, and they're just like floating after her. I really love this panel right here. Yeah, as you can tell, I really enjoyed doing the action scenes. So she's trying to drive off, they're chasing her. Zoom, boom, boom, ba-boom, as they're firing at her, and she's swerving around it. You can see some ruins here. So my original plan with this, you can see what looks like a mouse. He's dressed like them. Spoilers now, because I'm probably not going to make more of these. My original plan was that the cats were not the dominant race on Mars. It was actually mice. And the mice tried to increase the intelligence of the cats, and then the cats overthrew the mice. And they just kind of took all their gear. So, like in the second one, you were going to find out that the moon was an artificial construct of cheese where the mice are living. And they were going to team up with the Earthlings to try to liberate Mars in the third one. Oh yeah, you can see the caveman cat too. They're kind of fighting over the Staff of Power. So they're still trying to get away. She's like, hit the gas, Spot. They're gaining on us. And he says, I'm giving it all it's got, Captain. Yeah, a lot of Star Trek references in here. But then, so one of them, he comes up on the side and distracts her, and she doesn't see the one that's phasing through the road in front of her. And he opens up his eyes and he does like a big psychic push up, woo, 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 and boom, it sends the car flipping with Pandy tumbling out. You know, kind of like when they power up in Dragon Ball and they just push back everything that's around them. So next thing, she knows she's coming conscious on this in this dark room. What's going on? Where am I? What? And then she looks up and there's a bunch of the cats like looming over her, like creepy aliens. And you have one of the main side cats there. So the ones in the clothes are like the ones that go out. They're like the clerics in Equilibrium. And when they're inside, the workers are more plain dressed. These aren't the lower class that the family is. These are more like just a lower class of the Psycats. All the Psycats' internal affairs happen internally, controlled by Psycats. You'll see them working with the other ones later, and it's very like control based. So the one that caught her, start the test on this thing. After you are finished, get it in the tank. Keep it fresh for the vivisection. So vivisection is when you take something apart while it's still alive. A lot of people will say something like, oh, dissected alive or something, or dissected alive. But we have a word for that, vivisection. And she's just like, what the? She didn't know what's going on. A bunch of weirdos over here. Oh, this part's coming up. It's pretty cool. So this eye comes down with these needles and whatnot. It's injecting her with stuff. It's holding her down. And then the Psycats, they start using their psychic ability. That's how they control their machines. And the room goes black and you get this like very alien motif of them. Then you see from the camera's point of view, looking down at her, it's like zzz. She doesn't know what's going to happen. She might blow up. Now I won these ones. I planned the book out so they would be side by side like this. Zoom, and you get one of those shots where it shows the inside of her skeleton. It was probably like one of, if not my favorite drawing in the whole book. Just the mix of colors and whatnot. You know, I watched Mars Attacks growing up, I really just loved the aesthetics of that. That probably had a lot of influence over this too, which is probably the only time you're going to see any of Tim Burton's art influencing mine. Well, in a positive manner. So the next one, she's floating in the tube. They got some charts there. Now, I actually wrote out a language using signs I thought would be relevant to cats. And if I remember, this says something like foul-smelling monster appears to be fat and will gobble you up, something along those lines. I don't know if there's enough words written in here for someone to try to translate it. I will eventually find the cipher again, but I have it just somewhere in my files. So Pandy's talking to herself while floating in the healing juices. They keep putting me through experiments. Nothing too bad so far, but I need to get out and find Spot. Otherwise, I'll have no hope of making it home. I believe this says something like break time, and this says like obedience, because you're supposed to be obedient to the hierarchies, and they're all shuffling out to go have lunch. And Pandy, you know, she's looking around her pod and she gets an idea. She sees a vent and she pulls her some Bruce Willis. That's right, this just turned into Die Hard. She's crawling through the vents and they didn't take away her intercom. So like, let's go back a bit. So you might notice like her helmet's held by a dog collar with a tag. The tag is, of course, an intercom in which she can communicate with the other members of her team. And actually serves a practical purpose. So she's like, Spot, come in. Spot, do you read me? Over. We should put a little... I want to do that now. So if you get the book, if the book ever does come out and that's not in there. So the next one, you see Spot and he's sitting here in a dark room somewhere. Miss, is that you? Oh, thank dog you are okay. I'm in some kind of hangar. They have dismantled the rover, but I seem to be fine for now. And she's like, okay, I'm on my way now. Be there in 5. Pandy out. Yeah, so the next scene, she's kicking in a vent, but bam, and she drops down, and swoosh, she's in some sort of hangar with all the flying saucers, just clack on the ground, like a freaking boss landed in there. You have that obedience poster again. You have some of the obedience poster again. I don't quite remember what this one says at the moment. And you can see the rover is taken apart. They've even stepped on her flag. They took the engine out. And she's just like, I better find Spot and get out of here quick. And she does. He's sitting there alone. And picks him up and he instantly gets happy. This is like the only time you actually see the AI's face, by the way. I didn't have many chances to draw it. Eventually he's going to get put in a big robot for like the finale. So, I appreciate you coming back for a friend, ma'am. And she says, I never forget a friend, Spot. See, and like, I think places like there is where the color is going to help. So he's like, we can't fix the rover, ma'am. What should we do? And she just tells him, don't worry, I've got a plan. And they're looking at the saucer. What do you think she's going to do? Oh, by the way, why his has lines? To make it seem like it's more robotic, you know? Like it has that buzz to it. So, they see the flying saucer. Next one, boom! They burst a flying saucer hole through the hangar. They're zipping, they're zooming out of there. The tower's in the background. The guy that was just experimenting on them is like, oh, I'm gonna get those Duke boys. And she's just like, yeah! Oh, I love this part. And then zoop, she's out of there. She's like, let's see if the radio works. And she's fiddling around with the controls. And Spot chimes in. These craft don't seem suitable for space flight. They rely on the planet's magnetic field for propulsion. We need to make it back to the ship if we want to make it home anytime soon. So that, like, you know, if you're at all familiar with UFO bullcrap, that is one of the number one things they say is that the saucers use the Earth's magnetic field for propulsion. So I thought that'd be a cool explanation for why they have these really cool crafts, but they can't actually, like, why they're not on Earth now, why they don't leave the planet. Because the craft itself is reliant on the planet's field. And you might think, oh, Ricky, Mars doesn't have a magnetic field. No, our Mars does not. But obviously for this to work, I already said there's more atmosphere. For there to be an atmosphere on Mars, there has to be a magnetic field to hold it in place. That's why I never take anyone seriously when they say, oh, we're going to colonize Mars, because they can't answer basic questions. How are you going to live? Are you going to live in domes? Especially when people talk about terraforming the planet, they're like, we want to build an atmosphere on Mars. How are you going to keep it from being blown into space because there's no magnetic field? Are you working on a magnetic field generator? Like, are you going to live in domes? Are you going to live in sunken craters like Cowboy Bebop? And there's never an answer for that. So they're trying to get away, and then some more saucers come up, and they're just crashing into her. Look, she's mad. They're shooting at her. Pew! And they shoot the same way they do when they're out of the craft. They're just combining their psychic energy and pretty much hurling it at her. And it pushes them out of the way. But it veers her down. She's like, pew! When you see it explode, it lights up the sky. But as they're there, circling into the smoking husk, she's climbing up on some crater. I believe she's actually at Olympus Mons right now. But they realize, they start floating after her. And Spot is telling her, these guys don't give up, do they? I've got an idea. Mons used to be a volcano. I'm sure it's full of caves. Another thing, you know, if you look at Martians at all, like in media, there's always a bunch of caves. Little mouse skull hidden in the background with some notches on the wall. And she's sliding down this big old berm. And she sees a little crevice, and they're on her tail. They're shaking their fist at her like, oh. And she's trying to crawl through there. They start grabbing her leg. They're pulling on her. She's pulling back, just grunting. And then, that's right, a fart joke. And they start choking on her foul air while she's just dangling there. And keep in mind, again, this was a kid's book. It'd be like kids 4 to probably about 10. And also, if you have an English, I figured a lot of people who would be interested in this would be people that like English bulldogs. And if you had an English bulldog, you know that this is a very accurate depiction. So she gets away, and she's like, because they were too busy choking on her booty air. Sir, what are we going to do? We need to report this right away. So that's what this guy's doing. He's like communing with the other Psycats. You see Naruto? It's like Naruto. And it goes back here to the main tower and the main lady, who's giant for no explained reason. And they're like, ma'am, we have a situation. But she was listening too. I heard. We cannot let this creature get away. What if it brings outside technology? If the common cats have access to powers that rival ours, it could threaten my power. Take her ship to the Great Valley. Throw it in. She will follow. And this is another time where it's like, yeah, their solution is literally pushing something off the edge. Why? Because they're cats. So they're walking through the cave. She found another entrance out. Ma'am, my sensors are detecting that the rocket is moving. The computers are offline, though. The cats must be moving it externally. What should we do, ma'am? And she's looking at the town. A very familiar town to what we've seen before. You can see they live in like an X-shaped cul-de-sac. Well then, I guess we will just have to find a ride. So that's part of it. Is like, it looks like they're in these very nice neighborhoods, but they're kind of secluded. They don't have the access to the saucers that the Psycats have. They're kind of just stuck there. So then you see what happened to the kids. You know, the dad's worried. The mom is angry. And the police are dropping them off at home. They're just annoyed they have to deal with it. This guy, he's a Dutz. He's like, oh boy, I gotta see the cops. She's being a little stinker about it. You can see the difference in their tells. He's just worried. And I actually have the translations here before I put the tags on. So they tagged them because they're criminals now, much like we would do to animals on Earth. And his says fat, brat, and dumb. So they're rather insulting tags at that, but it also reflects like his perception of the scene with his dolphin shorts. So the next scene, I really love how this one's drawn here. I thought I told you kids no. What if that thing gobbled you up? Or worse, what would the neighbors think? Did you even consider your mother? You're going to be grounded for years. And the cop's just like agreeing with her, so she lays into him more. It was horrid, ma'am. Mouth like a trap, wrinkly skin, and a horrible stink. If we hadn't gotten there, your children would have been its lunch. This will have to go in their permanent records. And the daughter's just like, oh, whatever. She wasn't that bad. If anything, she was trying to help us. So then the cop starts laying into her. That's enough. It's been deemed a threat. That thing is a danger to our society. Everyone is to be on high alert. Report any and all suspicious activity. If you see the alien, do not make contact, and do not help it. You will be punished. Believe you me, it'll be worse than a timeout in your rooms. So yeah, my whole idea for this was that our hero, who would be the Earthling essentially, is seen as the alien. Kind of a role reversal of what you always seen in those 1950s creature flicks, which I just love. I wanted the hero to be the monster, you know? So the kids are immediately sneaking out. Are you sure about this, Calvin? And he's just like, we are already in trouble. What is Mom going to do? Ground us again? And the daughter's put on her helmet. Besides, I want to see that thing again. She's not mean. Why are they acting like she's some monster? And as they're riding off, Teddy's just like, you think it's a girl? Because he can't tell, because it's an alien. So there are cats on Pandy's planet, but there are no dogs on their planet. And that would have been revealed later when the mice, yada, yada, yada. So here we go. We have Pandy behind a trash can. I wrote a little Jim H. was here. You know, Jim Henson was a great man. Helped a ton of children with his show. I just wanted to give him a little shout out in my art. So, there must be something we can borrow. A car, another saucer, a bicycle even. And she's sitting behind the trash can. And again, fate gets them there. Crash. Ba-bam! You know, Calvin wrecks into the trash can, wrecks into her, knocking her forward. And she's like, ooh. So she's sitting there on the ground, and they're meowing at her. Meow. Brr, brr, meow. Brr. And Pandy's talking to her thing. Spot, do you know what they're saying? He's like, yes, ma'am. I've been examining their language, and I made a cipher. Just speak through your tag. So again, the tag on her thing that she uses as an intercom, he has written a new software that allows her to decode her speech to them. And she's like, bark, bark. And it translates as, you can see it's more robotic here. I am Pandy of Earth. I am here on a scientific mission. I need some help. And then she says, nice to meet you. And they're like, you're in major trouble. The Psycats are looking for you. And Tay's like, yeah, they're telling people that you're a monster. And she's like, I don't suppose you know what they did with my ship. I need to get home. So you might notice the perspective there. I do this a lot. They're not looking at each other through perspective. I actually have them like kind of breaking the fourth wall with how they're looking. Because it makes the picture seem more like together. So then Calvin's like, they're probably taking it to the Great Valley. They push everything in there. Again, because they're cats. And to me, the Great Valley there is a giant canyon on Mars. It's actually like, I believe, the largest canyon on any rocky planet in our solar system. Some people believe it was the last like washout of their water. But so what does a canyon look like when you're in it? A Great Valley. That must be the Valley Marinus, the largest canyon on Mars. Don't worry, we know the way. So she gets on the bicycle like E.T.'s trying to look around her. And she's focused while he's pedaling his butt off. And they get there. They got the sun behind them. You know, because they're the heroes. And they're looking down. And the Psycats they're kind of lifting it with their psychic ability. And then they have cats pushing on it as well. Like normal subservient cats. And Pandy, she throws a coin at them and says, thanks, kids. Now get home and remember to stay safe. And this was going to come into play later in the second book, because the kids were going to use that money at a later time, but it looks like that's not going to be made. So yeah, here you can see the normal cats. They're in jumpsuits, and And she's like, I'll be taking my ship back, fellas. And the side cat, without any regard for the workers, just shoots through them. Kaboom! She jumps back. She plops. She jumps back. She does one of those little, I'm going to put my hand on your head. And she flips over them and lands with the ship at her back. I tried to make the violence like I didn't want the hero just beating the crap out of people. And then the girl gets mad and she's like, that's it, I've had enough. And she starts charging in and her brother's like, what are you doing? We have to help her. I'm tired of these guys. I'm not going to let them make the aliens think that all cats are jerks. So this guy's like, we've got you now, to Pandy, and he starts powering up to fire on her. And then the girl jumps on her back like a cat. And is like, meow. And then her brothers start charging in, screaming, Viva la Revolution. And they start attacking them like cats, too. The boy's kind of more wrestling it, and Pandy takes the opportunity to run off. And this guy, he tries to get off a shot while the girl's pulling back on his head. So, pew! And it causes him to miss a bit. And there's a big kaboom at everyone's feet, sending them flying. Again, they're flying off. She's flying off like a cat. You know, the ship's getting knocked off. It's falling through the air, and you see Teddy and his brother there. But Pandy, she's inside of the ship already. You can see the doors open, so it's like, oh, she got inside. She clicks spot in. He's like, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Click. The doors flying down. Chunk. 3, 2. This is another one of my favorites. Blast off! And so they're in space. They're talking. You see the Earth in the distance. It feels good to be home, miss. I just feel bad for those kids. I hope they are okay. Maybe we'll be able to pay them back someday. A little foreshadowing. And then you have the inn. She's on the beach at sunset. She just parks perfectly on the beach in Florida. And she's like, let's get back. We need to report our findings to the General. General Bulldog. He was my favorite. But then, dun, 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 the kids are crawling out. And you got a question mark. You know, the classic, the end. ... question mark. So yeah, the second book was going to be the kids on Earth. They blend in because they're cats, other than the green color of their eyes. Because all the Mars cats have the green eyes from the genetic testing. And they're going to try to use that quarter. Earth people are going to be really nice to them. They are going to see the differences between their culture and Earth culture. And then decide to help the Earthlings to liberate Mars. And by liberate, they weren't going to do away with the queen or anything. They're simply going to make it so that there is no class system and establish democracy so the cats can choose their leaders. All of them, the psychics and the normal cats. And this one was just a filler for the back. But yeah, so that is the kids' book. The last kids' book I made. You know, I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed making it. I actually kind of enjoyed making this video for you. But let's get to the final thoughts and wrap this up. Welcome back, Space Cadet. So what do you think of the story? I really would like your honest opinion on this one. You know, I ask questions to the audience all the time, but no. Tell me, did I do decent with this? I really hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, I don't have too many final thoughts for this one. It being my own creation, most of my thoughts were out in there. There's not really a deeper interpretation to it. If you'd like my services for art, consultation, or anything, I am available. If I had to take anything from this one, it would be that sometimes stuff fails, and you did everything you could. It's not really your fault. It feels discouraging when it happens, but you gotta just keep up on that horse. You know, no one likes investing time into something and feeling like it didn't pay off. I believe the person that wanted me to make this originally, I'm not going to say your name because I think that's rude online, but originally wanted to help children. She wanted her story to reach children and be meaningful. And I can't publish it. I can't put it out there. Nothing legally stopped me from doing this. So my hope is that, you know, maybe some kid will still like this. You'll like this video and you'll really attach to it. I didn't put it up this time, but next week I'll probably be reviewing Team America again. Unless my schedule gets a little hectic, then I'm just going to throw a Chick Tracks in there. I definitely hope to see you back here for that, and I hope you really enjoyed my story today. And if there's one more thing I'm going to leave you with, it's like Pandy, don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your abilities. Believe in yourself, and you can achieve great things.